It took 12 months to plan our trip. It started with a simple brainstorm for location and a vote that decided upon Queensland. We put together a small committee for planning details, who started with accommodation, followed by itinerary and activities with the help of the rest of our unit. We ended up getting extremely cheap airfares due to booking 12 months in advance. We finished with an estimation of costs which ended up at $800 per person. This led to a lot of fundraising, which cut us down to $100 per person. All up, the trip was $22,000.
We wanted to make this trip achievable for every member of our unit so that they couldn't be excluded on the basis that they couldn't afford it. So we had a subcommittee group that tried to steer some of our fundraising, and we did quite a lot of different activities. We did Bunnings and Safeway barbecues, we did phone box deliveries, we did leaflet drops for local businesses. We got a really great gig with the local council being ushers at a Nitro Circus show. We were given a donation from a local business, and we also did a chocolate drive, and our group gave us money towards every member going.
The day-to-day things that we did at the Queensland trip were we split up into different groups, and we did the cooking, the cleaning, the packing and the shopping. We hired a bus for the main travels all around Queensland, and we also hired a car for just extra space, and also for if something goes wrong, we've just got a small car that we can drive around instead of taking the bus everywhere. Every night, our unit's chairman, Mike, would go through a rundown of the following day, just so we all knew exactly what was happening and so we all knew what to do and what time to get up. Most of the days and activities were run by the unit council and the venturers themselves, and the camp itself felt like it had a lot of freedom and like it was all very venturer run.
During our time in Queensland, we did a couple activities including paintballing. We did this mostly because in Victoria you can't do paintballing before you're 18, so we took the opportunity we had in Queensland. Although paintballing was pretty fun, a couple have ended up with some major injuries, including Caleb, one of our friends. We started our theme park adventure with Wet n Wild, but due to some bad weather, the park was shut down. Phil was able to renegotiate us into Movie World for the rest of the day. On our first full day in Queensland, we went kayaking with the whole unit. Luckily we were able to have enough kayaks for everyone in the unit, so it was a pretty fun experience for all of us, although we were dead by the end of it. To continue our theme park adventure, we went to Dream World. At the start, I didn't really want to do any of the rides, but I warmed up to it by the end of the day. As for most of us, the chill out day was one of my favourite days to calm down after the 4 days that we'd already been through, and to think about the things we were getting able to do in the next couple of days. For me, it was most of the time spent watching anime with Patrick, but it was a lot of fun. On one of the days, we went on a forward driving trip in Fraser Island. It was pretty cramped in the bus and I almost had a panic attack, but I guess the food was pretty good. On the last day of the trip, just before we flew out, we went rock climbing. And as a person who was deadly scared of heights, it was a pretty fun experience to get out of my comfort zone.
Different nights we had theme nights. Like one night we had a onesie theme where we all got dressed up in onesies and we walked around like that for a whole night. And another night we had a toga night where we all got dressed up in like bed sheets or anything that looked sort of toga-y and just sort of went around like that, and we all ate Greek food, and we also had a beach party themed night.
The reason we decided to do this trip to Queensland was because we'd run a trip a few years before that was really successful. It was a big trip, and some of our older members had been young members at that time, so we'd had a whole lot of young members join in from linking from Scouts or who'd just joined, and we thought it'd be really great for our unit to bond with a trip. And we also wanted to make it quite achievable, that everybody would be able to attend. So that's why we made it such a low cost, so nobody could be excluded on the basis of price.
So as part of planning Big Trip, we did a complete risk assessment on the activity so that we could work out what potentially could go wrong and try and mitigate those potential risks. As part of that plan, we also needed to apply for an interstate travel permit so that we could take our venturers interstate. and this needed to be completed at least 3 months before the event to ensure that it was signed off by branch and also the Queensland branch that we were going to.
The camp itself, of course, wasn't without its problems. Like, we got to one of the campsites and we were expecting it to be a fully functional scout kitchen, so it'd have all the pots and things, but it had nothing. It didn't have any of the pots or pans or anything like that. As a solution to that, we went out and we purchased all the pots and pans and anything that the kitchen was sort of missing, and then we donated it to that scout group when we left, so that they had that for future use.
All in all, this trip was a great experience for all of us. Although skeptic at first, I'm really glad I participated. This experience was overall a great way to deepen the friendship between the unit, and any other units that get the opportunity should jump at the chance.